There's been a lot of outcry here for a number of years, really, not just because of this incident, that we should be able to sort of hear what the referees are talking to each other about. We see it in rugby union, you see it in cricket, you see it in tennis, like you say, you get to see all of that played out in front of your eyes. Do you think football is right to sort of keep it behind the closed curtain, or should we be more transparent and open with what's going on?
I think in the beginning, I think it was important that we didn't reveal those communications in the beginning, for the simple fact is you had a lot of officials having to retrain their brain and their mindset. We never had technology. It was just introduced. So in the beginning of it, right? So since 2017, we've had it in Major League Soccer. I think Premier League adopted it in 2018 or applied it after we did. Yeah. So now we're really just talking 5 years VAR at the Premier League. And the first couple of years I said, no, don't reveal the audio tape. The officials are still working through it. This is the highest level. There's so much scrutiny. Let us get comfortable with it first. It's a completely different skill set. Many individuals who are good on the field aren't good in the booth, and vice versa. It is a completely different mindset when you go in there and how you process things as we're learning lifetime in front of you all. Things we knew, but now you guys are learning. Now I do think we're at the point, especially a good reference, of rugby and cricket. Those are the ones I've been taking a look at too when people are crying out for that audio. And it's so clear. You don't see as much animosity. Maybe tribalism doesn't exist as strongly there. I don't want to say that because I'm not very familiar with those two sports, and I can imagine they still do. But I think we're now at that point where the VAR and the implementation by referees are now at, VAR 2.0. 1.0 was we're crawling, like we're not even crawling really, right? We were just learning to be alive and breathing. And now we're at the point where we're crawling, and now we're at the point where we're about essentially walking. So I think it's okay. I think at the immediate moment, the VAR communication back and forth between the referee and the VAR booth should not be released live. And I think that it's important so that the officials are able to have that free communication that is necessary without this overriding thought in their brain that I'm being judged at this moment of the exact words I'm saying. And that could kind of disrupt that communication. Trust me, it's enough knowing that your audio tape is being listened. I know my audio tapes were always listened by FIFA because they were the I call it the test tube, right, for VAR. So that's already known in the back. But, after the fact, I don't see an issue with releasing much of the audio because it provides clarity. And I think if anything, it encourages people to truly understand what it is we're saying. The check complete, now everyone understands what we're saying, right? When you hear Sam recommending an on-field review for serious foul play, studs going through the knee with speed, force, contact. Now we're talking about FIFA considerations. And now not only are analysts going to be using the same language we use, but now the fans are going to be able to appreciate. You guys have a higher level of football understanding, so it's not lost on you as much, but at least it has us speaking all the same language and can satisfy some of those, which is great. The fact that you guys care what we're saying.
Yeah,
do some leagues that nobody cares what we're saying.
No, well, yeah, we definitely care over here. Yeah, that'd be the most listened to part of the footy match, I reckon. But it's interesting because you're right. It opened up a human element as well, I think, to a lot of officials, which we don't really have at the moment because we don't really hear from them sort of day to day. I mean, a little bit more now when you've got the likes of Mike Dean and Dermot Gallagher as well coming out and doing media stuff after they've retired. So hearing more from them in the day to day might help that. But I also think it would help us understand the pressure of the situation a little bit more as well, because you're right, like, we don't know exactly what they're going through. At the time, we all see it as black and white, and some of us have got tinted glasses on when it comes to our team, of course. But if we could understand a little bit more exactly what was going on at the time, it might make us a little bit more sympathetic, potentially, not definitely. And last question, not definitely. Yeah, I'm talking from my own, calm persona. Just finally, before I let you go, you've touched upon it just there as you were talking. When it comes to specialist VARs and specialist on-field referees, do you think that's a world we should be living in now? Because over here, I don't know what different leagues are like again, but they kind of interchange all the time. One week they'll be doing an on-pitch refereeing job, the next week they'll be fourth official, and then they'll be in VAR and so on and so forth. Do you think somewhere down the line, maybe in the near future, maybe in the distant future, there will be a world whereby certain groups of referees are just better at being in VAR, they react, they handle those situations, and vice versa, some are better at being on pitch? Do you think that's where we should be living?
So we are currently living in that.
In the MLS?
In the MLS and in FIFA, there's certain, actually FIFA has a VAR, what is it? Video match official, a VMO badge already, a FIFA VMO badge. So those that you saw at World Cup who were in the VAR booth were exclusively there just for video match official to be a VAR in those games. And it's the same thing with an assistant VAR. At times the assistant VAR would interplay and they would still go from the booth to the field. And it's just really because we still need to increase our numbers. As kind of I mentioned, there's some people who have that mindset, but you also kind of have to have had a higher level of football experience because you need to know what should be recommended as a clear and obvious error based upon expectations of that match, right? So what could be a red card potentially in a youth match may not be a red card in a pro game. And that sounds really mind-boggling to people, but what football expects could be different depending upon skill set, level, and truly the type of contact and speed. So that's already going in that progression. I can tell you in Major League Soccer, we don't have yet someone specifically only for it, but there are individuals who are clearly just doing VAR and not doing as much match officials, but have stepped. Or we have individuals who stepped off the field and are just doing, have retired essentially from the field, but are doing their experience is incremental, like Kevin Stott, who had been part of MLS since its beginning, who just stepped off the field last year. He's now in the booth, right? And he's getting it down very, very much. So although he's been part of it, he's now doing that continuously. So it will evolve there. And if I go back to the infancy, analogy is like, we're still at the point where we need to, one, increase our troops when it comes to on-field officials. And I think that's what people don't realize is if we don't develop our referees similar to how we develop players, and you guys do a very good job of developing homegrown players in your youth level, we don't have that with the referees at this point. So we're already struggling to get the most qualified officials on the field in a professional level game. To take them off the field and put them in the booth now reduces our numbers, especially as there's more football, there's more cups, there's more leagues, there's more international matches. There's just so much more football that goes on. So we just need to increase our numbers or increase our groups. And I can't emphasize it enough. Not only do we need more investment financially into the referee groups and development starting at the youth level, but we also need more human resources and personnel who are actually developing and training and who actually have jobs in this. You guys are further along ahead of us than we are here in the States. But everyone's like, you just can't throw money at the issue. No, but at the same time, you cannot not throw, money at the issue to develop the right personnel, to educate, train, and really retention. Retention very early on. I'm pretty sure we've lost plenty of really qualified referees or players who played football who may not go on to play professional or collegiate or university at least, who could go into the refereeing side. That's how I got into it. There was no way to play women's pro soccer in the United States. So I said, hey, let me go do the referee thing. I can never play on the women's national team, but I can go referee the best women in the world. And so I think we just need to convert a lot of those individuals as well too.
No, 100%, yeah. And that pathway is really interesting, actually. And it's amazing now. We've seen a lot of the shift, certainly from ex-footballers, is now media. I mentioned Jamie Carragher and Frank Lampard 20 minutes ago, and their shift wasn't to, go and be a referee now. It was, I want to work in the media. So maybe we do need to sort of address that balance as well. And I've heard countless horror stories from young referees getting abused and stuff like that at grassroots level, and they give up refereeing because of that. And that's another thing that needs addressing 100%. But I did just want to touch on something. I know I've said the last question, and I promise you this will be the last one. You said there about ex-footballers, whenever this type of thing happens in the media, some of these ex-footballers that I'm talking about, they come out and say, you need an ex-footballer in the box because they understand how football works. They've played the game. We've seen it with Curtis Jones's red card. I don't want to dwell on that too much, but a lot of ex-footballers coming out and saying, Gary Neville at the time saying, that's just a football incident. It happens. What's your take on that? You laughed when I said it, so what's your take?
I laugh because I work with Jamie for Champions League here domestically for CBS Sports, and I hear this all the time from him and Thierry Henry, and I laugh because I have a job as a media analyst for the rules because ex-footballers don't know the laws. Okay. So is the learning gap slower or is the learning gap smaller if ex-footballers start going into it? Yes, it is. But I think if you take any ex-footballer and you put them through referee courses and you teach them that it is more neutral based, that we look at considerations, the mindset changes. I know that for me to jump from the refereeing side to watching my daughter play or trying to, become a Leeds fan, prior to it was popular to become a Leeds fan, FYI. It was a good friend of mine here stateside is a huge Leeds fan.
I thought you were. I can see the scarf. Sorry, I thought that was Leeds. I was going to mention it.
I went through customs last year in January, and the lady's like, "Who are you going to come see?" And I'm like, "Oh, Leeds." She's like, "No American follows Leeds."
Jesse Marsh.
That was way before it. I was trending before. And so I'm keeping my stuff. I'm not just a bandwagon person. But that being said, you could take an ex-footballer, and every ex-footballer come. We'll throw you in the booth. But you're going to learn very, very quickly it's not as easy as you think it is. And when they're saying, oh, the red card, and, that should be hit the ball first. Well, of course they hit the ball first. And we've had that argument. I got ball first. But now you got to start seeing from a neutral perspective of not just the attacker's perspective, but the defender's perspective. And you got to start using considerations like speed, force. Did it go through the leg? Was it higher up? They'll then realize, and it's kind of when an ex-footballer, and that's why I said they'll get it if they jump into it. When you review tape, after your match and you learn, hey, here are some of the best considerations, or here's the play I should have made, or what I did was okay, but it could have been better if we did it that way. No problem. Ex-footballers come. And ironically, the majority of referees are ex-footballers. They might not have gone and played at the pro levels, and we'll take the pro levels, but I think they'll learn very quickly. And I always joke with Jamie, I was like, hey, we'll put you in and we'll put you in front of the VAR booth with all the cameras, and you call the shots, and you tell the video operator which angles you need, and you hit the button, and you see the timing thing. It would be great to also put a stress test on him and Thierry Henry and see where their hearts flutter at that.